Listen, I bet you she Yeah, she said she went to the grocery store yesterday. See, you're still real
All right, folks, we'll go ahead and get started. Those of you who do not know me, I'm Jason Bailey. I'm the county mayor. And thank you all for taking time out of your day to come here today to welcome Governor Lee to Union County. It's a pleasure to have you. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you very much, sir. And before you leave today, you can't leave Union County empty-handed, okay? Because we have for you today a handy-dandy Union County mug to set on your desk. Okay? And we also have, the next time you give a State of the State address, we expect you to wear this. Okay? It's even, look, it's got the stars on the back. It's fantastic. Okay? So do not leave without that.
Don't you worry, I won't.
Perfect, perfect. Before I get started, folks, again, thank you for coming out. It's awesome to have a crowd like this. I do want to take this platform to introduce someone very special to me and someone I'm so very proud of. This year we had our very first Miss Union County. Stand up, Miss Caitlin Little. Isn't she gorgeous? I just love this girl. And she, the very first person from Union County to compete in the Miss Tennessee pageant, which was a couple weeks ago, and she did an outstanding job. So I'm so proud of you, Caitlin. Thank you for being here. And thank you to the lovely and talented Miss Julia Richardson Gibbs. Stand up, Julia. Julia Julia is a great friend of mine, and she also coordinated the Miss Union County pageant and went with Caitlin every day to the Miss Tennessee one. And thank you, Julia, for all you did for our county. That's so awesome. So thank you for being here. And again, folks, thank you for coming out. This is so awesome to have Mr. Lee here today. And I'm going to get out of the way and let these guys do their thing. But it is my pleasure now to introduce Representative Dennis Powers. Come on up, sir.
Thank you all so much, and thank you all for coming out, and welcome to Liberty. Did you all know that Maynardville used to be named Liberty before Horace Maynard, before it was named after him? So we're glad to have you out here today. First of all, I want to recognize a few of the elected officials, and I see a few of them. And if I don't recognize you, there's Debbie Biles, our Administrator of Elections. So I go ahead and get her, but Gina Buckner, our trustee, and we have some others. Where are they? Elected officials. We got some. Yes.
I'm Sidney Jaycee. I'm a county commissioner here representing the 2nd District.
Okay, great. Thank you. And
I'm Joyce Melter Barker, a
Hi,
county
Joyce.
commissioner from the
sorry, I
South
didn't
District.
see you. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
R.L. Jones, County Commissioner.
That's right. Hey, RL. Anybody? What we got? Yes. Oh, yeah.
Terry Chandler, Plainview City Mayor.
Okay, that's right. Hey, Gary.
Jerry Lawson, City Mayor of Local.
Oh, hey, Jerry.
Marty Smith, Mayor.
Oh, my name, Marty. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Tom Blakely, Vice Mayor of the City of Maynardville.
Okay, great. Thank you all for coming out. Did I miss anybody? Well, thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it. It's such an honor to get to serve with Governor Lee. He's done a great job so far, and he's going to talk a little bit about our state and what we're doing and talk about Union County. It was less than a year ago that we were up here campaigning a little bit, and he did very well in Union County. There's Maria. Hi, Maria, the First Lady. We're glad to have you here today. And we were really pleased that what the governor's done. It's been a great honor to get to work with him. He is a man of faith and a man that we can all be proud of, to lower taxes. He's really big on education, and that's something that we really need, and helping people and making sure that people know that when they leave high school that's not the end, that they need some kind of a job training, or if they don't go to college. And we have a lot of opportunities out there in the state of Tennessee with Tennessee Promise and everything else that we've got going on. And we are the 2nd lowest tax state in the nation. We're proud of that. And does anybody know who the lowest is? Do you know?
I don't.
I
don't care who they
and it's because of the oil royalties, but it's Alaska. I had to look that up because I thought we were the lowest, but Alaska actually gives their people a check because they have all the oil royalties that coming off there.
They don't have any people either.
That's right. But we're the lowest taxed in the continental U.S. So we're proud of that fact and proud of what's going on in the state of Tennessee. Got a lot of great things. And I get to share Union County. I'm honored to do that. My grandparents are from here, and so it's always great to come back home. I want to mention that too. They're from Sharps Chapel, so I love Union County. I used to get to come here a lot as a kid, but they moved from Sharps Chapel to Davis Chapel when they built Norris Dam and built Norris Lake. And it's just an honor to get to come back and visit. And I have a lot of relatives here, and glad to be here today. But I get to share a part of Union County with my good friend Jerry Sexton. Jerry's the state representative for the 35th District, and he and I get to work together a lot. And at this time, I'd like for Jerry to come up, and he's going to introduce the governor.
Thank you, Dennis. And Dennis and I are good friends. We share legislation, ideas alike, and it's really a blessing to be able to get to work with Dennis. I want you to know that that's not just political speech, that is the truth. And I've got, before I introduce the governor, I'd like to share with you someone that's very special to my wife and I. We had the privilege to go by and pick her up this morning, and she's been a blessing to this county and to us. And Miss Jean Skeen, would you stand up, please? What a sweet lady. She's the type of people that make Union County and our country great. She's worked in this county for years, and I think taught school and worked at the health department, I believe, and her son pastors Warwick Baptist Church. So it's, it's just a blessing that we have people that love this country, and thank God for you. Now, I promised her we'd try to get a picture with Marie.
That'll be simple with Maria. That's who you want a picture. We can take a second one with you.
Yeah, if she had time, she wanted to get one with you. It is such an honor to serve with this governor. Governor Bill Lee is a man of his word. He says what he means what he says, and he works toward that. And I can't tell you what a blessing it is for Dennis and I and those of us in the legislature that have the same ideas that he does, to get to push forward those. Instead of pushing against the establishment, we get to go forward in those things. And so I'm just very grateful to have this privilege to serve with him. He knows us. He knows Tennessee. He has our values and our faith. He doesn't wear his faith as a facade. He wears it in his heart. He lives by it. And I'm grateful for that. And so it's a great privilege for me to have this privilege to introduce our governor, Governor Bill Lee.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you for that. You all should be, and I know you are. Jerry talked about us working together, which we do, and that's good for you in this community when you have representatives that have a relationship with the governor, know him, spend time with him, and share values and principles, and we share ideas, and we're working for the same thing. That's good for this county. It's good for this district. It's good for Tennessee. So I'm honored to work with both of these men. And you should be grateful and honored that you've got them as your reps, because everybody doesn't have that kind of representation at the state capitol, but you do, and I'm grateful to work for them, and I know y'all proud of them. Maria and I were pulling in here and just mindful of the first time we came here, considering what we were going to do, and have a lot of good memory of stops that we've had here and the welcome that we've had every time we come. And y'all will honor us by coming out here today. So thank you for being here. And we are very honored. I've said many times, the Lord gave us great favor to put us in this spot, and we take that very seriously. And it's an honor to be able to serve the people of this county and the people of Tennessee. You know, I'd never run for office before, never been in government and public service before, but I say it's an honor. One of the most profound things about it is that you have these things that you carry around in your heart for years and years and years as a part of your private business or whatever it is, however it is you live your life. And then because of this spot that we found ourselves in, I get to actually do things that affect change in a positive way for people's lives that have to do with those things that have mattered so much to me for so long. Like, for example, I grew up in a rural county and in the ag business and farming and all that. So rural Tennessee's always mattered. And it's always been important to me. I've always thought we ought to be careful about what happens in rural counties. And so then I became the governor, and I got to write the executive order number 1 for the Bill Lee administration, and that was to call into account the state government to give an accounting for the impact that they have on particularly the 15 most distressed rural counties that we have in Tennessee. So to carry that around for all my life and then to let that be my first executive order was to strengthen rural Tennessee. What an honor that has been for me. I ran a company of heat and air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical technicians I worked there 35 years, ran it for 25. Have a background in skilled trades. And so I've always known that we need more focus on vocational technical education. So to become the governor and to be able to work with these men to pass legislation something called the Governor's Investment in Vocational Education Act, the GIVE Act, which is a significant financial investment in creating vocational, technical, and agricultural programs in high schools all over Tennessee, because high school needs to look a little different, and we need to have pathways to success for all kids, those that are going to college, those that are not, those that are gifted in different ways. So to be able to do that is a tremendous blessing for me, and to be able to work with these men to get that done is it has truly been an honor. I worked in another example of it. I worked in a prison ministry reentry program for many, many years, and mentored men coming out of prison. And I learned a long time ago that we could and should do a better job of understanding reentry. I'm a person who believes we've got to be tough on crime where it's appropriate. There are people that need to be locked up and stay there. But there's also the reality that 95% of everybody sitting in a prison cell is coming out. And they're going to come out into our counties, and right now half of them are going to recommit a crime in the first 3 years in our counties and then go back to prison, which we pay for. And so I learned that in working in prison with reentry, or not in the prison, but with prisoners that were reentering. And I carried that around, worked in it for many years in the nonprofit sector. Then I became the governor and have had the profound honor and privilege once again to work with like-minded people to pass meaningful laws that will change, that will lower, I believe, will lower the crime rate in Tennessee. We invested in education for the incarcerated because we know that if you have some certificate attainment as an incarcerated person, when you get out, you're 40% less likely to recommit a crime. We invested in pre-trial and in pre-incarceration services like mental health courts, drug courts, veterans courts. We're going to expand those all over the state because that allows us citizens not to have to pay for incarceration, but the person that committed the crime does have to pay the penalty for their crime, but they do it in an alternative sentence. That's just a couple examples of things that immediately in the first term we have been able to do that I think are going to lower the crime rate in the state. When I came here and campaigned a year ago, I probably said people want a good job and a good school for their kid and a safe neighborhood. And now we're passing legislation around job creation and skills training, around safer neighborhoods with criminal justice reform. And we did a lot of work this year in strengthening our educational system. The public school system in the state of Tennessee is the backbone of how we educate our kids. It is the pivotal piece of the future of Tennessee. We have to be investing and strengthening our public school system, not only with funding, which we did in our budget, and we funded teacher pay raises, but we've got to be innovative, creative. We've got to look at ways to advance innovative reform, especially in some inner city schools that are really failing and that are not meeting the needs of kids in Tennessee. Because, I've been all over the state saying what happens in rural Tennessee matters to every Tennessean. What happens in inner city schools impacts this entire state. Because if those kids don't get educated, then it negatively impacts the entire state. So we worked in the legislature to create some historic school reform efforts that are targeted at those failing schools in the inner city. I'm a governor that believes that Tennessee needs to be a leader in education if we want to be a leader in America. And we are going to be a leader in America. We are in many ways already, tax-wise, fiscally responsible, conservative approaches, but we can lead in safe neighborhoods, we can lead in better schools, we can lead in workforce development and job creation, and it's been an absolute honor to be able to start that process moving forward. A couple other things that I've had in my heart for a long time that have been, now I'm having an opportunity to do, and this is along with my wife Maria, First Lady, who this has been a journey for us together, and her her initiative, what she has decided she wants to do, and part of the job the role that she will play in this together thing that we're doing. Her initiative is called Tennessee Serves. It is her way of traveling the state while we travel the state together. We went a different pathway earlier today, even because I was doing one thing and she went with the Tennessee Serves initiative to inspire people in communities all over this state to serve their neighbor, however they want to do that, however it fits for you, through church, through a nonprofit, through visiting the elderly, through serving the veterans. However it is that you want to serve your neighbor and love your neighbor, as we're called to do, that's what Tennessee Serves is about. And at the same time, you know, I have always said my faith in Christ is the most important thing in my life. It'll never change. And because of that, we ought to be serving. That's what we're called to do. So we will be establishing this next month the Governor's Office of Faith-Based and Nonprofit Initiatives. It is a governor's office, so it operates within the governor's office, but it's a liaison between the church, the faith community, the nonprofit community, and the government, so that we can encourage and support and strengthen and connect those nonprofits out in the communities that are doing the real work of serving neighbors, whether it's the poor, the homeless, those without, the kids in transition with DCS, those in mental health, with mental health challenges or addictions. The nonprofit community does a remarkable job of that. The government can never do it all, and it's not even the job of the government to do it. Government isn't the answer to the greatest challenges that we have in our day. The people are the answer to that. So I'm excited about this Office of Faith-Based and Nonprofit Initiative and about Maria's Tennessee Serves. I'm going to stop talking because I want to have a little Q&A. I want you all to know that I'm not ever going to stop coming out to the people. I try to get out of the Capitol as much as I can, because what happens in the Capitol is important, but Tennessee's not at the Capitol. It's out here. And we got to constantly be out here and hearing from and talking to and letting you have access to us. So I want to be able to answer a few questions, but I'll close by saying many of you in this county were tremendously helpful to us in getting to this spot that we're in, and it is. And I'm really, really grateful for that. I'm thankful for the opportunity that you've given us to be able to use our lives to impact others for good. We all want to do that, and now I've gotten in this tremendously honored spot to be able to do it in a big way. So thank you for letting me do it. Maria and I are honored to do it. We're committed to every day listening to what people want, truly trying to make life better for every single Tennessean. And we're proud to be back in this county. So thank you very much for having us. I bet y'all got a question or two. Oh, but can I do this before? Sorry, you're first.
Okay.
I see a badge reflecting back there. I had the really sad but profound honor to speak at a funeral of the police officer that was killed in downtown Nashville 2 days ago, and the funeral was 2 days ago. And I've had since coming to this job, I have an increased awareness and real appreciation for what it is that people, men and women in law enforcement, do when they literally, when you go to a funeral of a police officer who was doing traffic stops, you realize we don't think about this every day, but they literally put their life on the line every single day. And they do that so that we can live freely and safe. And so I just want to say thanks to you all. I have a great new appreciation for that. And first responders and otherwise, but thank you for that. So now your question.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm John Osborne. I'm a dentist
been practicing here about 30 years. I'm also the dental director for Remote Area Medical, and we provide free medical and dental care throughout the world.
Thank you.
We've done about 1,000 clinics so far in the past 25 years. Typical clinic, we do more in America than anywhere, and more in Tennessee than anywhere in America. Typical clinic, we'll see several hundred patients camp out overnight to get a number to be seen.
Yeah.
And we provide free dental care, eyeglasses, and free medical care. As a dental provider in a small community, TennCare is a nightmare for us to navigate. And so expanding that would, I think, put small providers or providers in small towns out of business, just like the hospitals in rural communities. So I'd really like for Remote Area Medical to start focusing on third world countries like we were intending to do instead of here.
Yeah.
So do you have ideas?
I do.
I don't expect the answer.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't have the answer, and you know what? I feel a little bit better if I'm kind of right here. I have a really good friend of mine who happens to be my dentist, and he works in a nonprofit called Hope Smiles, and they are doing work in both in Africa and Haiti, but also here in Tennessee. And he's talked to me a lot about particularly rural Tennessee and the needs and the dental health needs, besides all the other ones that are really evident to us. So we've actually met with him. They're meeting with our department. I've had them meet with our new Department of Health Director, Commissioner, to try and develop a strategy for services in rural communities. So there's a huge problem, and there are no easy answers, but we're actually starting down that path. I really would like to connect you with the Department of Health, with Dr. Kemp, with those that we're trying to, whenever we have an issue of uniqueness like dental care in rural communities, underserved communities, bring together the experts, sit down and say, let's develop a strategy going forward, and we're doing just that. So
we find the same need in Knoxville, Tennessee, that we find in Union County.
Every sector.
It's not just the rural community, it's nationwide, really.
And I appreciate that nonprofit community has an enormous role to play in that. But make sure, where's Alec? That young man back in the back is who I want you to at least just connect with, so I can connect you with Dr. Kemp. Thank you for that. What else? Oh, come on now.
I'll be next.
I don't come every month, so you might. I'm going to come a lot, but yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you again for coming out.
Yeah.
One of the big things here in Union County we've been looking for quite some time is the expansion of Highway 33. From basically the Union-Knox line all the way up to the city. And I know that's, number one on TDOT's list, so, keep pushing that for us if you could. Any updates on that or anything? I know that may not be something you know right off. But.
Yeah, you know what I really do love this. So I don't know the specifics about that project, although I have sat down with TDOT, looked at all projects.
Sure.
I can't. When you come to a county and people go, what do you think about Highway 18? And you go, well, I don't live here, so I don't know whatever it is.
You should know.
But I will say, I do know that. But let me say this. We have a great new TDOT commissioner, and he's a contractor. He was a contractor, and he understands the procurement process and the selection of the order of projects. I'm excited about that. We have a defined plan that actually goes 10 years out on what we want to do. Roads and bridges and highways are arteries of prosperity, I call them. And if we don't maintain them and keep them up and expand them where they're needed to, then you won't have prosperity. And particularly in rural communities, we do that. So that unique project, what I love about coming to communities is when people advocate strongly for their community. And I promise you, I'll know about the specifics of where that road is this afternoon, and I'll let you know. But thank you for asking.
One more.
Yeah.
Internet.
Oh, yeah.
Rural communities, and I know that's something you were very passionate about. So
Right.
what's
So we already doubled the funding for rural internet provision in this year's budget. So we have, I don't remember the number, but I think we added $10 million to the current funding level for that. So it'll more rapidly expand that. But I've also brought together and am bringing together private providers and the public utility companies. All of those that have anything to do with the multiple ways that internet gets delivered to rural counties in particular, and said, let's develop a strategy. We're going to fund it. Yes, we're going to keep expanding it, but we need a bigger strategy. Here's why. If you want better healthcare access in a rural community, then you ought to have telemedicine. And telemedicine is not possible unless you have broadband access. And telemedicine can transform the healthcare delivery of a rural community when you can, electronically or digitally, if you can communicate with specialists at Vanderbilt in a local clinic because of telemedicine, and that changes things. If you can educate children through distance learning in communities that don't have the highest access and level of educational resources, that changes things. So it's not just so people can have the internet, it's because it transforms the life of a rural community for us to have broadband access. It's why we got to keep doing it. It's why we put more funding in than was already allocated, but we're strategically looking to expand that as well.
No. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. None of those are easy or quick. I'll add that.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like roads. There's never enough money. There's never enough. But a real strong strategy and an emphasis on something is how things get done. Absolutely. One more? Okay. How about we do two more? I'll go real quick. Sure. I'll answer more quickly. Hey, thank you for your service. I can't read your hat, but yes.
I'm Arnold Smalls, commander of the VFW Post, HCCU here in Maynardville. This year we had, I think, 18 or 19 graduates going to the service, which I'm very proud of. I would like to see us have an ROTC. The ROTC graduates usually go in at least 2 ranks higher, and it gives them a step up, and I think it'd be an advantage for the county and for our youth. Thank you.
That is, do you have an addition to that?
I'm the director of schools.
Okay. Oh, good, maybe you can answer that.
And we've applied. And the board has approved. And we're hoping to get that in place as elected this year and an official ROTC next year.
Awesome.
That's why I'm late. I was talking to the commander about our ROTC program.
Awesome.
So that was perfect timing.
If there's anything I can do to help, just call them.
Don't you love it when local solutions are how it really happens? Because that's really the truth, y'all. I mean, whenever the people can solve a problem at a local level, that's why we ought to have, that's why decisions about schools, decisions about businesses, decisions about regulation, decisions about taxes, whenever those can be done at a local level, that's where we need to push that direction. And then whenever the state can assist communities, that's when we play our greatest role. One more question. Yes, ma'am. Oh, you have one too? Yes, ma'am. 2 questions.
As someone who advocates for the public school system and education, what is your stance on charter schools?
I'm one who advocates for public schools too, and public charters. All the charter schools in our state are public schools. They're public charter schools. We don't have charter schools in rural communities because they're not very applicable out here. But we have. What I fundamentally believe is that when we give parents choices about educating their children, then not only are the outcomes for that kid potentially improved, but the whole system benefits from those choices. And what I mean by that is particularly in, we're 38th out of 50 in the country in educational outcomes in Tennessee. That's not really good enough to me. Like, none of us want to be 38 out of 50. Tennessee can be a leader. We can have the best public schools in the country, or certainly in the top 10 or 15. We need to be in the top end of that. In order to do that, we're going to have to be innovative and creative, and we're going to have to experiment with things, particularly in our worst performing schools, and those happen to be in the inner city, in our biggest urban districts. There, we have implemented additional choices for parents so that kids aren't stuck in failing schools that they can't get out of. And in counties like this, you have kids are served well in education in most all of our rural counties. But in our inner city schools, we got some really difficult outcomes. So, public charters are an opportunity to give parents choices in the inner city. Education savings accounts, which you may have heard about with much controversy, but I believe will give us great insight into some of those school districts. How do we solve those toughest problems? And when we solve those toughest problems, it gives us insight into what we then can bring forward to the vast number of the rest of our kids in the state, which are educated through our traditional public school system. I'm a strong advocate for traditional public schools, such an advocate that I believe we have to do innovative, creative things to make those public schools better. Yes, ma'am.
Mine's kind of on the line, but mine is, what is your goals for agriculture in high school?
Yeah.
We've seen it decrease here.
Yeah.
And we went from 3 ag teachers down to 2 ag teachers. And when I have a daughter who's so involved in agriculture, and that's her passion, and she wants to be an ag teacher, you can't worry when you start seeing things decrease in that department.
And I worry about that a little bit too, which is part of what the Governor's Investment in Vocational Education Act is, because it actually provides for dual credit enrollment for high school students who only specifically are choosing vocational, technical, and agricultural education pathways. So I too believe that we need to strengthen, agriculture is 13% of our economy. I have an ag background, farming, grew up as a 4-H'er. By the way, we set aside specific funding, dedicated funding for 4-H and FFA, different than's ever been in the budget, so that we can make certain that those programs are sustained and that those are youth development programs, educational in nature. But we are, the whole GIVE Act, part of the plan there is to strengthen those career paths, specifically in agriculture as well. Ag's 13% of the economy, very important. If Tennessee's going to continue to be a leader in ag, then we got to have the next generation of farmers, and not just traditional farmers, but future farmers that understand ag technology and what the future of agriculture looks like. And there are some major ag tech companies that are relocating to Tennessee because we are going to be an ag leader, and they believe in this. But I agree with you, and I think in just a few short years we're going to see more kids taking an ag pathway, more ag teachers, more vocational pathways, more technical pathways, and that'll create a stronger workforce, particularly in some of our rural communities where jobs will more likely come to an area where we have good skills in our education system. Y'all are gracious and awesome, and I love the time to be with you, and we will be back, but thanks for coming out this morning, and thank you too.
Okay, real quick, I've got them already prepared.
Hey, I think you need to come up here and get a picture with Maria.
Yes,
Not take away from her. And then I won't share it.
Yeah, and definitely Marcia. She makes Jared, she's like Maria.
That's
Me.
right, yeah.
He's coming back. It's always like right here.
I'm coming back.
Get you a picture with
All
Maria.
right. Can I hear me? One more? Great.
Am I going to see you? We just take these and do that.
Very good. But I was so pleased.
Okay, thank you all. Hey, I just want to follow up real quickly on something. We'll close out, and then the media will do it. I just want to follow up on a couple of questions we had. Highway 33, that's our priority. We've been working on it. We've got everything done, as far as I know, from TDOT. We've got everything done except the funding. So we've got right-of-way, engineering, everything, as far as I know, except the funding. So that's what we're working on. We've got to come up with money and get it on top of TDOT's priority list. And we've been working on that every year. So we're going to keep doing that. One other thing that we're working on that we didn't mention, and I put in a budget amendment, Jerry and I will be working on that too. We would love to have a combination community college, Walter State, and a TCAT here. And we put that in our budget amendment last year. It did not get funded, but we'll have to talk to the governor, and hopefully one of these days we'll get it funded, because we don't have a community college here, we don't have a TCAT, and people are driving an hour to go to each one, and we want to make that available because we think that's the future, and that's where people need to go. So we're working on that too.
Might be 30 minutes.
That's true. Yeah, some of them. And so thank you all very much for coming out. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate it, and thank you all for coming out. We're going to give him a little bit of time with the media now if they have some follow-up questions, Marty and everybody. So thank you all for coming out, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you, Bill, for coming out.
I'm sorry,
I'm Alec, I'm gonna go. So you're my new mayor? Okay. We're gonna do it all in one spot. Yeah, we can do it here. Which one is she? Okay. Perfect, thank you.
I'll do it on the meeting day, so maybe you will take it easy. You know I got to talk that day. Send me a picture of the picture.
I'll share that with you.
How you doing?
I'm paper and mayor.
Excellent.
Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you.
Yes, ma'am. We'll have a couple of
Okay.
Thank you,
Now stay away from that.
Step over here.
I feel like a little bit of
Just take your belly as good as you can.
Ask a question.
Right here?
Hey.
How are you? My name is Marty Smith. I'm the mayor of Maryville.
Awesome, thank you.
I am also with the newspaper, and
Oh, good.
I'm a 911 dispatcher.
Well, goodness, she does it all.
I do it all.
That's awesome, thank you.
And it is my honor to welcome you to the city of Maryville.
I'm honored to be back.
We love you here.
Thank you.
Now that I have your attention, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to you and Maria for being what you are. Down to earth, God-loving people. It's amazing to have that in our government. My question to you is, since Highway 33 has already been addressed, I'm concerned about 911 dispatchers. We are not considered as first responders, although I think we need to be. I take my job very seriously. We are under budgeted badly here in Union County. And I will address that with Mr. Powers, Mr. Sexton. But your attention would be greatly appreciated. We have to make split-second decisions. When we answer that phone, we're responsible for that person when we get there too. So we are not recognized as first responders, and we don't fight crime from the bad side of the cameras or the phone like the officers do. But we are their lifeline. We don't get enough credit for it. I don't want the credit, but I think we deserve it. And I speak for all of it.
Thanks for speaking. As one who's personally, unfortunately, had to utilize 911 in my life and how critically important that was in those moments for me. I think what you did is great work, and I'm glad that you're working through your legislative representatives, and I will work with them to talk about what changes might be possible. It's good. I appreciate the work.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the help that you're giving us. And thank you for recognizing the officers today. They do put their life on the line every day.
Every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Chandler.
Hi, Gary.
Mayor of City of Plainview.
Good, yes,
I
sir.
welcome you to Union County.
Proud to be here.
I taught school for 35 years, going
Thank
into
you for
36.
that.
I'll always be a proponent of public education. I agree with you. Just thinking that we need choices also. But public education needs to always be at the top two.
teaching.
I love it.
That's awesome.
It
What do you
is.
think?
Jeff Leach teaching the same building. I've taught here in Union County 35 years. I would have retired, but I get to see my kids every day.
That's right.
Very long. City Village.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. It means me a lot. I also work for the sheriff's department.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, what you did, I really appreciate it. And may God have favor on you and your family for the rest of your life. So I appreciate it.
Very, very good.
Did we get a picture with the
Get a
mayor?
picture, Cam, real quick.
Here, let me,
Thank you, sir. You want me to get Jason on it?
Yes, please.
It's great to meet you.
One picture, Governor Lee, with
Okay.
all the mayors.
Yeah, where you want to do it up here, or what are you going to do?
you want to do it where it says, in God we trust?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Are you on it?
No, I'm
You're not on it? Okay, we'll make sure.
Absolutely.
Great. Thanks for coming out. Great to see you guys. Hi, I'm Greg. Thanks for having us today.
Is Miss Union in your way? Is she in your way? Okay, shoot.
Next
Thank you.
They called me back.
I mentioned before, but it probably don't remember me. I was at Cowboys on
How are you, young lady? Good. You need help with that?
This is your cell.
Good to see you. I think I have a no, I'll take that. Bardo. No.
There we go.
Thank you. I noticed that. You'll have to. Now you remember this young man. I said, you need to remember him. I mean, he's going. Well, it was a lot of mine is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can build it's better.
Keep opening that present, honey. You just keep unwrapping.
Thanks for everything. Bless you guys.
Oh, gosh, it's just been great.
Well, if you get to come back to school, sounds awesome. Yeah, the session's all that, it's already on. First, my dad really liked you. I remember he was like, I'm going to vote for this guy. He said, just clicks all the right check works. Yeah, and you're popular. You're popular. You know, I mean, I talk to people about it. Everyone likes you. We work hard. And it shows.
He does, he works hard. He works hard to reach those that he has. You know, we've all got places we can improve. Well, we work together.
about 20-something more people apply. That's amazing. How's the other one coming? Oh, you know?
He says, you know, one thing I want to point out is passionate about Southeast churches, passionate about there, also is loud, church. It's a mess. It really is. That rock there is awesome.